بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وعلى من تبع هداهم إلى يوم الدين. Indeed, all praise is due to Allah, and my peace and blessings be upon His Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. The masjid is just, you need to lower your voice, jazakumullahu khairan, as you're leaving, for verily turning the masjid into markets. This is one of the signs of the day of resurrection. The topic at hand is supposed to be the continuation of what we've been starting so many weeks ago, maybe more than a year, which is first correct your aqidah. We're talking about paradise, and the last thing that we touched upon was how the people will enter paradise in groups of 700,000, holding hands together. And we said we're going to be talking about also the food that the people will get for breakfast and for lunch. Also going to be talking about how the houses of paradise are going to be built, and how the bricks and the cement in between, also how the Kawthar look like, and the fruits of paradise. All of this was supposed to be for tonight, but because of the occasion, and that is the month of Sha'baan followed by the month of Ramadan, I just basically thought that it will be a wise idea to talk about things that the people are in need of. And yet, I'm saying this, I have actually before talked about this issue in a number of years, but the repetition of it when it is needed, it's something from the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. And we find, for example, Anas radiallahu anhu, some people came to him from Basra, traveled all the way to Medina. That's a long distance, bearing in mind you don't have a car, you don't have a plane, that's just traveling by camel. When they arrived to Anas radiallahu anhu, and he was the last companion to be alive, they've asked him to make dua for them. So he said, Allahumma gfir lana warhamna wa atina fid dunya hasana wa fil akhirati hasana wa qina adhab an-nar. Just the only dua he said. So they've asked him for more. So he repeated the same dua, Allahumma gfir lana warhamna wa atina fid dunya hasana fil akhirati hasana wa qina adhab an-nar. Translation of this dua: O Lord, forgive for us and have mercy upon us, and give us in this dunya hasana, and the akhirah give us a hasana. Hasana means a reward, and also save us from the punishment of the fire. That's the meaning of the dua. So when he had repeated the same dua upon the request to give them more dua, one of the people were standing. He said, Imam, verily they are asking you for extra dua. He said, verily this dua is sufficient. I don't need to give you more than that. If Allah gives you the forgiveness and the mercy, and on top of that gives you a hasana in the dunya and hasana in the akhirah, and save you the punishment of the fire on the day of resurrection, that's what you want. This is a dua, even it's very concise and very small, yet it contains a lot of meanings. And the Prophet ﷺ taught this dua to Anas radiallahu anhu. So remember to say this dua, Allahumma gfir lana warhamna wa atina fid dunya hasana wa fil akhirati hasana wa qina adhab an-nar. This is the dua also, you say part of it, Rabbana atina fid dunya hasana fil akhirati hasana wa qina adhab an-nar, between the Rukn al-Yaman and between the black stone corner Yemeni or Yemeni corner and the black stone corner, in between the dua is to be fulfilled. You say that just only that dua, Rabbana atina fid dunya hasana wa fil akhirati hasana wa qina adhab an-nar. طيب. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam had indicated to us the importance of this month, the month of Sha'baan. This month of Sha'baan is a month that lies between two great months, Rajab, which is one of the four sacred months, and also the month of Ramadan, which is the best of months in the sight of Allah. The best of all months is the month of Ramadan. And that is why the month of Ramadan was chosen for the fasting. Ramadan was chosen to be fasting because it's the best of the month. What makes it the best of the month? The issue is that the month of Ramadan has the revelation of all the books that we know. We know only 5 and maximum 6 books has been given to the prophets. But we know for a fact that each prophet had a book with him or had a revelation with him. But the ones that we know is only 5 or 6, depending upon how you count them. Suhuf Ibrahim, and then the Torah of Musa alayhi salam, and also the Injil of Isa alayhi salam, and the Zabur of Dawood alayhi salam, and the Quran that has been sent upon the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So these are the 5 that we know. How they have become the 6? It is something called Suhuf Musa, Suhuf Ibrahim wa Musa. So are the Suhuf of Musa different from the Torah, or are they the same? So some scholars say they are the same. Suhuf Musa is a Torah. So if it is the case, then 5 books we know. If it is not the same, then we have 6. Do we know anything about what is being revealed in these books? We have some. So for example, in the Quran, we know that in Suhuf Ibrahim, it was said, أَنْ لَيْسَ لِلْإِنسَانِ إِلَّا مَا سَعَى. That's in Suhuf Ibrahim. Also, we know in Zabur that we mentioned that is the nasheed. So things which are in the Zabur, that if Dawood alayhi salam used to recite those verses, you'll find even the birds and the echo of the mountains go along with him. As for the Injil, yes, we do have in the Quran so many things that is emphasized what was in the Injil before it was manipulated and forged. For example, that Allah Azza wa Jalla, He had said to us that there is the name of Ahmad in the Torah, in the Injil. Whether it's the Old Testament or the New Testament, is the Injil. Right. So this is the month of Ramadan, which is the month that Allah designated for the revelation of all books. As for the Suhuf Ibrahim, it was revealed in the first night of Ramadan. And as for the Torah of Musa alayhi salam, it was revealed on the 6th night of Ramadan. And as for the Injil, it was revealed on the 13th night of Ramadan. And as for the Zabur, it was revealed on the 18th night of Ramadan. The only book which was revealed in the last 10 nights of Ramadan is the Quran. It was revealed on the 24th night of Ramadan, according to the hadith, which is authenticated by some of the scholars, one of them, our Shaykh al-Albani, rahimahullah. So this hadith tells us that all the books were revealed in the month of Ramadan, but only the Quran was revealed in the last 10 nights of Ramadan. Now, Allah Azza wa Jalla said, "Inna anzalnahu fi laylatil qadr." Verily, we have revealed the Quran on the night of Al-Qadr. Now, the Prophet of Allah at the beginning, he didn't know when was the night of the Qadr. He knew it was in the month of Ramadan, but which part of the days in the month of Ramadan. That's why he had made a i'tikaf. I'tikaf means seclusion. That is to sit in the masjid and designate yourself for the ibadah. It's called i'tikaf. He made i'tikaf in the first 10 nights of Ramadan. Then the following year, he shifted his i'tikaf to the middle 10 days of Ramadan. Then in the last, that is, of years of his life, he shifted his i'tikaf from the middle to the end, the last 10 days. And he said to the ones who made i'tikaf in the middle nights of Ramadan, he said, I'm going to continue because it's been shown to me that the night of Al-Qadr is in the last night. This night had witnessed the revelation of the Quran. The revelation of the Quran is in 2 ways. One, which is the whole lot, all of the Quran, which was sent down from the preserved tablet, the Lawh al-Mahfuz, to the Baytul Izzah Sama' al-Dunya, and then from the Sama' al-Dunya, which is the worldly heaven, Baytul Izzah, the house of honor, you could call it. From there, Jibreel alayhi salam, he sent it to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam within 23 years. But there's a second revelation, which is the the first 5 verses. Surah Al-Alaq, اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق خلق الإنسان من علق اقرأ ربك الأكرم الذي علم بالقلم علم الإنسان ما لم يعلم. Those 5 verses were revealed on the night of Al-Qadr as well. And it looks like that hadith when it says it was revealed on the 24th night of Ramadan, Allahu A'lam. So we know that now the Prophet of Allah, he was told that the night of Al-Qadr is in the last 10 nights. And that's why he shifted his i'tikaf in the last 10 nights. Because of that month, the month of Ramadan, is to be the month of the revelation of the Quran. Not to say the revelation of all other books, but the revelation of the Quran. Because of that, Allah Azza wa Jal made an extra ibadah for that blessings of Allah, which is the blessings of the Quran. He entailed upon us, incumbent upon us to make the fast. That is what he said, Allah Azza wa Jalla, شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان فمن شهد منكم الشهر فليصم. He says, this is the month of Ramadan in which the Quran was revealed, guidance to the people, and also clear proofs. He who witnesses. فَمَنْ شَهِدَ. This fa, we call it in Arabic, fa'u salawiyya, fa'u al-illa. Meaning it's because of the month, it's the month of the revelation of the Quran, then he who witnesses the month, let him fast it. So this is a component of the fast because of the revelation of the Quran. Always when we have extra ibadah, a blessing from Allah Azza wa Jal, it entails upon us, incumbent upon us, express our gratitude to the Almighty Azza wa Jal. So at the end of the verses, he says, يُكَبِّرُ اللَّهَ عَلَى مَا هَدَاهُ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also, he said, فَإِذَا فَضْتُم مِّن فَإِذَا قَضَيْتُم مَنَاسِكَكُمْ. Also Allah, he said, when you finish your Hajj as well, then also make takbir. So always when there is a favor, a blessing from Allah, it must be followed by expressing gratitude to the Almighty Azza wa Jal. So this is the month of Sha'baan, which is precedes the month of Ramadan, the month of the Quran. So because the month of Sha'baan lies between Rajab, which is a very sacred month, it was so sacred that a tribe called Mudar, one of the Arabian tribes, they used to uphold the month of Rajab is to be the maximum, the best of the months. And also the month of Ramadan, which was known to the Arabs, was known to be as Ramadan from the sin burner. It's called burner. Ramadan, Ramad means to burn. So it's a sin burn, the month of Ramadan. It's well known to the Arabs, those 2 months. In the middle, there's a month which people do not take attention. And that is when Usama ibn Zayd radiallahu anhu, he said to the Prophet, he said, I've never seen you fasting in any month more than you do as in the month of Sha'ban. Save the month of Ramadan. Put the month of Ramadan aside. But, O Prophet of Allah, you fast so much in the month of Sha'ban that we believe that you're almost fasting the whole of it. Not all of it, almost the whole of it. Why is that? So the Prophet ﷺ, he said, ذَاكَ شَهْرٌ يَغْفُرُ النَّاسُ. It's a month where people do not pay attention. It's between Rajab and between Ramadan. And because of this, the Prophet of Allah is making this ibadah. And also from the Prophet ﷺ's sunnah, he said, عِبَادَةٌ فِي الْحَرَجِ. If you worship Allah in a time where people do not worship Allah, it's like making a hijrah, immigration to the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When the people are preoccupied by the dunya, do not do any ibadah, and you are focused on your ibadah, then you are doing the best of the ibadah. So in the time of killing, people are coup and revolution and revolting and all of that, and you are concerned about your ibadah, it's like making immigration to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So because of that, the Prophet of Allah, he said, this is a month where people do not pay attention to. They're oblivious. They don't pay attention to between Rajab and between Ramadan. Also, it's a month where these are elevated to the Almighty Azza wa Jal. So that these are elevated to the Almighty. But we know from the other hadith that the Prophet of Allah, he said that these are elevated to Allah Azza wa Jal every Ithnain and every Khamis, Monday and Thursday, where Allah, he would say, forgive for everybody except for those who are in dispute. He said, دَعْهُمَا حَتَّى يَصْطَلِحَا. He would tell the angel, leave them until they reconcile and settle their dispute. So what's so special then about the month of Sha'ban? The scholars, they said, it's elevation plus. So it's elevation, there's a plus into it. So it's extra elevation. An elevation where there will be extra forgiveness, an extra reward. That's why the Prophet of Allah, he said, فيه ترفع الأعمال. Then on top of that, he said, وأحب أن يرفع عملي وأنا صائم. And I like for my deeds to be elevated to the Almighty Azza wa Jal while I'm what? Fasting. When you have the fast with the ibadah, it's better than the ibadah itself. So when you fast along with praying, fast when you're making sadaqah, fast. And that is why Abu Bakr, when he had hit the 4 targets in one day, he's been given the option to enter paradise from any gate he wishes. When he said, the Prophet of Allah, who amongst you today? He became fasting. Abu Bakr, he said, yes, it's me. Who amongst you this morning? He became, and that's he followed a funeral. Abu Bakr, he said, yes. Who amongst you had paid a visit to a sick person? Abu Bakr said, yes. Who amongst you had paid sadaqah to a poor person? Abu Bakr, he said, yes. Any person who does these 4 things in one day, then he will be entering paradise from any gate he wishes. So this is why we say the fasting is important. So the Prophet said, I like my deeds to be elevated while I'm fasting. Because when you're fasting, you have less sins. You are more closer to Allah. Your ibadah will be more presentable, more acceptable. So fasting makes the ibadah better. So here the Prophet of Allah is telling us that he wanted to fast the month of Sha'ban so much because people do not pay attention to it, and because the deeds are elevated, and because he likes his deed to be elevated while he is fasting. Also, ya ikhwani, the month of Sha'baan, it's a month that contains as well a night. This night is a blessed night. It's a night which is a special night from all the nights. It is not a night where it is equivalent to the night of Al-Qadr. No, the night of Al-Qadr is the best night in the sight of Allah. But this is, you could say, next to second, or second to next, second to best, I should say, second to best. And that is the night of the midnight of Sha'baan. The midnight of Sha'baan, the good thing about it, you don't need to do ibadah. The meaning that means there's no such thing extra striving of ibadah to do. Whereas in the month, the night of Al-Qadr, you need to do what? You need first of all to tahri Laylatul Qadr. You want to know which night it is, because the night of Al-Qadr is within the last 10 nights. Prophet of Allah, he knew later on it was within the last 10 nights. And then he wanted to know that which night it is. He came out hoping that Allah will give him which night it is. Somebody had a dispute, a quarrel, and they had a quarrel between them, and they had a dispute. So he said, Hadith Ubadah al-Musam, he said, verily, I came out to tell you which night is the night of Al-Qadr, so and so and so and so, had a dispute, and the night of Al-Qadr being now obscure. Nobody knows what it is, but hopefully it will be good for you. So this night of Al-Qadr is better than the night of the midnight of Sha'baan, but the night of Al-Qadr requires also ibadah. You have to make the Salat al-Qiyam, the Imam, and as well to on the following day to see if the sun rises according to what the Prophet ﷺ is tahri. As for this night, I've got not to do nothing. I have just to make sure that I am upon the straight path. No extra ibadah, no extra fasting, no extra qiyam. Prophet of Allah, he said, the hadith is to be authenticated by a number of scholars. One of them is our Shaykh al-Albani, rahimahullah. This is the hadith. Hadith from number of scholars, number of companions, whether it's Abu Hurairah or others. And that is in Sahih ibn Hibban, and this is a narration which is authentic. ينزل الله تبارك وتعالى ليلة النصف من شعبان إلى السماء الدنيا فيغفر لجميع خلقه إلا إنسان في قلبه شحناء أو مشرك بالله عز وجل. Allah Azza wa Jalla, the Almighty, blessed and sublime, He will descend down to the nearest heaven on the midnight of Sha'baan, and He will forgive for all His creation, save two categories of people. Number one, the one who's got grudge and malice towards his brothers. And number two, the one who is making shirk, that is associating a deity with the Almighty Azza. So now let's just investigate this hadith. Number one, Prophet ﷺ said, Allah descends down. This descendants, ya ikhwani, is suitable to His Majesty. So we affirm the descendants, but we don't know how the descendants takes place. Descendants of ours requires for us to make a movement and to leave the space empty once we leave that space to something else. But the descendants of Allah is something we don't know how it is. But we understand the meaning of descendants. Descending is now ascending. This is ascending, it is descending. It's called descendants. But how the descendants? We don't know how Allah look like, so we don't know how the descendants look like. But we say it is suitable to His Majesty. That's it. We affirm the meaning, but we don't know the how, and we say it is suitable to Allah, absolving Allah from looking to be like anything of His creation. Then He says, إِلَى السَّمَاءِ, to the nearest heaven. Okay? Allah does not need you to descend to the nearest heaven to do anything, but He Himself, Allah, He willed for Himself to descend down, to say something that this is important. And the Prophet ﷺ, he said to us that Allah the Almighty, in the last third of every night, He descends down. And that's the Prophet ﷺ, he said, Sahih Imam Muslim, يَنزِلُ اللَّهُ تَبَارَكَ وَتَعَالَى فِي ثُلُثِ الْأَخِيرِ مِنْ كُلِّ لَيْلَةٍ. In the last third of every night. So every night, the last third of the night, Allah Azza wa Jalla descends down. And descends to suitable to His Majesty. So if it is the case, and what is the difference between the descendants in every night, in the last third of the night, and the descendants which is in the midnight of Sha'baan? The scholars, they said, this is a descendants again, plus this extra thing. As for the descendants of every night, Allah Azza wa Jalla said, He will ask, He will call unto His people, مَن يَسْأَلُنِي فَأُعْطِيَهُ مَن يَدْعُونِي فَأَسْتَجِيبَ لَهُ مَن يَسْتَغْفِرُنِي فَأَغْفِرَ لَهُ. Who asks me and I will grant it? Who supplicates and I will fulfill supplication? Who asks forgiveness and I will give him forgiveness? As for the midnight of Sha'baan, He will descend and He will not ask. He will forgive straight away. So there is no need for you to stay up. And that is what Allah said, وَبِالْأَسْحَارِ هُمْ يَسْتَغْفِرُونَ. And they seek in forgiveness during the time of Sahur. Sahur, which is the last day of the night. You don't need to be awake for that. So this night is just, I need to be making sure that I have got no belonging to the following two categories. Category number one, no malice, no grudge into my heart towards my brothers. So if you have a grudge towards the brother, if it's to do with dunya-wise, just settle it down before that night. If it is to do with deen-wise, make sure it's only for the deen. So you're boycotting him because of a bid'ah. That's boycotting, you keep it, no problem. Because that is for the sake of Allah. But I'm talking about dunya. He didn't smile to me, he had spat on my face, all of these things, you could settle that. And just a phone call. You're not expected to go and invite him, not expected to make a call and you hug him. You just give him salam alaikum wa rahmatullah, and you just give him a call, and that will settle. This is important, ya ikhwani. On the day when you're going to enter paradise, you will have no grudge whatsoever. وَنَزَعْنَا مَا فِي صُدُورِهِم مِّن غِلٍّ إِخْوَانًا عَلَى سُرُرٍ مُتَقَابِلِينَ. We will remove all that grudge and malice in the heart so that they will be entered paradise and will be couches face-facing one another. So the person, he is now encouraged to go ahead and clear his heart from his brothers. As for the second condition, which is the condition of, and that is the shirk in Allah Azza wa Jalla. Ibadallah, the shirk is an invalidator. It invalidates your deeds. وَلَقَدْ أُوحِيَ إِلَيْكَ وَإِلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكَ لَئِنْ أَشْرَكْتَ لَيَحْبَطَنَّ عَمَلُكَ. Verily, it's been revealed to you, O Muhammad, and to the prophets before you. If you do shirk, then all your deeds will be invalidated. So your deeds will be invalidated. And that is to the Prophet of Allah. The Prophet of Allah will not do the shirk, but Allah is addressing the Ummah through his Prophet. So make sure that you don't do shirk, whether it's minor or major, because this shirk, it will invalidate your deeds. If it's major, it will take you outside the fold of Islam. And if it's minor, it could be not forgiven, you're going to be punished, and you're going to be thrown to hell because of that minor shirk. And you definitely will not be included in those whom Allah will forgive on that midnight of Sha'baan. As I said, no specific ibadah, no specific fasting, no specific night qiyam. Unfortunately, some of the people not far away from this masjid, you'll find them beautify their masjid with the ribbons and lights and flashlights and all of that. Whether it's Ramadan, ya ikhwani, or even the midnight of Sha'baan. We're not supposed to put, like the Christian, we're actually imitating the kuffar. The Christian, for example, put a Christmas tree. Or they put, for example, flashing lights and ribbons. The Muslims do the same thing when it comes to Ramadan. It's true or not? They're finding flashing lights and finding ribbons and all of that. And that's not correct, ya akhwani. So in the masajid, we prepare for the month of Ramadan, for the month of Sha'baan. The month of Ramadan, we prepare it as well. We'll have bakhur. We want to have the nice smell of bakhur. Bakhur, bakhur, essence. So this bakhur is nice. Give a smell. We don't want the smell of kitchen to come here, curry and all of that. We want the smell of nice. So the bakhur. So inshallah, we'll tell our imam to bring mabkhara. So the mabkhara. So you go around the masjid here like that. You make smell come nice. So you pray with your mind, settled. My mind is being taken away from the smell of the food, whether it's a pleasant smell of the food which makes you, appetitus, you're hungry, or a food that makes you put off. Okay, so you want to make sure that the masjid looking nice. And as for the lights, it is the lights like this, and making sure that also the ventilation. That's a preparation for the month of Ramadan. We need to make the month of Ramadan is special in the way that we are prepared for it ibadah wise, not prepared for it as in food wise. Food wise, what do you want? Some people, subhanallah, everything that you don't want to have it is in Ramadan. So it comes, his brains, which is controlling, and it's being controlled by his stomach. So the brain of yours is a slave of your stomach. Your stomach saying, I want this food, and I want that sweet, and I want that ice cream, and I want that. And then you start putting a lot of things onto your feast, or your whatever it is that you're going to eat, and then you start eating a lot. One person here, which used to teach here, his name is Faraz. You could ask him. I have learned this from him, and I want to say it again. I've seen that he was giving a talk in High Wycombe about 20 years ago or more, and I was listening to that talk for Brother Faraz. And he was saying that he was praying, somebody was praying next to him in the month of Ramadan. It wanted the Taraweeh prayer, but he's overfilled with food. He actually dropped it to his face. Okay, while he's praying, he dropped it to his face. He made us laugh, he dropped it to his face because of the too much food. Ya Ikhwani, yani the best sunnah is to follow the sunnah. Prophet of Allah, when he breaks his fast, ala tamarat, ala, it is either fresh dates or dry dates. If you can't find, then water. That's the fatur, iftar. You want extra bit here, a bit to the, leave the big meal after Taraweeh. Okay, leave the big meal maybe for the sahur. Sahur could have meat. Some people, you know, in sahur, people think they just have a little food. No, Allah, I've been to the sahur of some of the people. MashaAllah, it's a chicken, kebab, and all of that. Okay, some people, they don't really have the stamina to digest such a food at such time. But it's got to the habit, okay? But it's not correct to have the kebab straight away after sunset, because it's going to be too much for you to come to the prayer of the Maghrib, and also too much for you to come to the prayer of the Isha and make the Tarawih. So you want to be light, inshallah. So apply the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he made this month of Sha'baan is a month of preparation also for the month of Ramadan. So the Prophet sallallahu said, إِذَا انْتَصَفَ شَعْبَانْ فَلَا تَصُومْ. If you are to fast the midday of Sha'baan, that means the 15th, do not fast. This is a prohibition with an exception. The prohibition is for everybody, save the two exceptions, which is number one, somebody who's got an obligatory fast to do. Like he had missed some days from the previous Ramadan, he must do it before the Ramadan coming. Second, which is obligatory, for example, somebody made an oath and he violated his oath. He has to fast 3 days if he hasn't got the money to pay for to feed 6 people, 10 people, or clothe 10 people. So he makes the fasting for expiation of the vow. Or he's fulfilling the vow. So it's either he made it, by Allah, I'm going to have such a 3 days or 4 days of fasting. That's compulsory. Those days, no problem to fast them after the mid of Sha'ban, after the 15th of Sha'ban. Also, the second exception is for the exemption is that is the ones who have got a habitual fast. So he's fasting al-Ithnain al-Khamis, fasting a day, breaking the following day. He could continue. And the Prophet of Allah had emphasized this by saying, do not preempt Ramadan by a day or two, except if it's a habitual fast that one of you is fasting. So do not fast the last 2 days. Actually, the last day we should call the day of shak, the day of the doubt, because the Prophet of Allah, he does not want you to add a day extra to the Ramadan. If you start making, sort of extra precaution, let me fast the day, it could be Ramadan, then you might make the Ramadan instead of 30, 31 days, which is not allowed. And the month of Ramadan has to have a distinguished flavor. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had, through his universal law, made time better than time. وَرَبُّكَ يَخْلُقُ مَا يَشَاءُ وَيَخْتَارُ. Allah, your Lord, creates whatever he wills, and he chooses. مَا كَانَ لَهُمُ الْخِيَارَ. No choice have they above his choice. Subhanahu wa ta'ala amma yushrikun. Glorified be he is, and above all that they associate partners with him. Allah chose the month of Ramadan to be the best of the months, and he chose as well the night of Al-Qadr to be the best of the nights, and he chose the 10th of Dhul Hijjah, that is the day of Eid al-Adha, to be the best of all days, and he chose the hour, and that is the last hour on Jumu'ah before Maghrib, to be the best of hours, but he chose Jumu'ah in itself as to be the best of the days of the week. And not only that, he chose as well creation upon creation. So he chose Muhammad ﷺ to be the best of all mankind, not to say the best of all creation. And he chose also Jibreel ﷺ to be the best of all angels. He chose places as well. He made Mecca to be the best of all places. And after that, the Medina, so on and so forth. So we have weeks better than weeks, months better than months. And we have also days better than days, and nights better than nights, and hours better than hours. And that's from the universal law of the Almighty Azza wa Jal. Like after this, we come to the month of Ramadan in terms of preparation. You make sure that before you start the month of Ramadan, that you have the news that the moon is being sighted. And we sight, Ikhwani, the moon of every month. 2 witnesses are required for every month, except for the month of Ramadan. 1 witness is enough. Because of Abdullah ibn Umar, he was a teenager when he witnessed the Abdullah ibn Umar, by the way, he was born 10 years before the revelation, 10 years before the migration, 10 years. So it makes him, when he immigrated, so we just say before the revelation, he was when the Prophet ﷺ made the immigration, and the second year it was, that is the second year when Ramadan became compulsory. Abdullah ibn Umar, he was only 13 years old, or 12 or 13, because he was born 10 years before what? Immigration. He was 12 or 13. So I wouldn't say he's accepted his testimony when he was 12, because he was not even allowed to participate in the Battle of Badr. He wanted to participate, but he said, no, he's not an adult yet. In the Battle of Uhud, he was accepted. In the Battle of Al-Khandaq, he was accepted. When he was about 14 plus, he was accepted. So when he was 14 plus, if he was accepted to fight, make jihad along with the Muslims, his testimony was accepted for what? For sighting the moon. He said, "Tara an-nasu ila Ramadan." The people wanted to go and test and witness the crescent. It shows that they are keen to come before the Maghrib time on the 29th day of Sha'baan to see if the crescent is going to come. So tomorrow will indicate the first day of Ramadan, or if there is no moon, it indicates that the last 39 days will be for Sha'baan the following day. So either 30th of Sha'baan or the first of Ramadan. So he said, people went to go and check for this crescent. And I was amongst them. And I saw it. And I told the Prophet, Prophet commanded everybody, the whole ummah, upon the testimony of a kid. He's a teenager. He did not exceed even the 20 years old. Even when the Prophet died, he was about 21 when the Prophet died. So this is before the Prophet died. He commanded the people to fast upon the testimony of Abdullah ibn Umar. So this is what we need to do regarding the month of Ramadan, is to sight the moon. Now, I know that the sighting of the moon in this country is going to be second to impossible, okay? Because of the clouds and all of that, and because our testimony is not being taken. I mean, I wish that we have a committee here that they will do that. I wish, but we don't. And even if we have, the correct opinion is to follow the first country that announced for the sighting of the moon, whether it is Saudi Arabia or Zimbabwe or any African country, okay? If they announce that they have sighted the moon, we should go along with them, okay? Should go along with them, and we will sit to start the day. But unfortunately, we don't. Even in this country, we are split, amongst a split. So we don't want to eat the split to add to the split another split. So let's just stick to our masjid. You're going to come to make Eid here, isn't it? So if the Imam had, for example, adopted Zimbabwe, and the other Imams adopted, for example, Saudi Arabia, so you're going to come to the masjid, what, you're going to make your Eid on the day of, for example, the day of 30th of Ramadan? You can't. Or the following day, you say, Allah, Allah, La ilaha Allahu Akbar, Allah, there is nobody there. You have to come with the people. So that's why the Prophet ﷺ said, Sawmukum yawma tasubu. The fast of yours when everybody fasts. That is why it's not allowed. If you are in a place where you have no communication, when you have communication and you've seen the moon with your eyes, that is tomorrow is going to be the first day of Ramadan. It's not going to be the 30th of Sha'baan. You could see it. And you took even picture and a video, whatever, video movie for it, okay? Yet the governor or the countries had adopted, it's not going to be tomorrow, the day of Ramadan. You cannot fast. You're not allowed to fast. You have to fast with the people. Because the Prophet said, Sawmukum yawma tasumu. When everybody fasts, you fast. It's not you. Unless you don't have communication. There's no communication. You are in the middle of nowhere. You have no communication, okay? And then you saw the crescent, then you fast more. But on the following day, if you have the news that it is not Ramadan, you should break the fast. It's not Ramadan for you. So it is not Ramadan. Ramadan has to be with everyone. Eid with everyone. The Prophet wanted to make us as a ummah, ikhwan. The Eid supposed to be, and Ramadan supposed to be, that is a day where the ummah get together. But unfortunately, they don't. A country here, and a country here, and a country in the middle. These two countries have one Eid, and the one in the middle have different Eid. How can it be? Which moon they are following? Different moon? So I remember the time of, for example, of Muammar al-Gaddafi in Libya. He used to have 2 days difference. Okay? One day, 2 days difference. In one country, like for example, in our brother country, Pakistan, you have one Eid in the north, one Eid in the middle, and one Eid in the south. Each one is have his own Eid. SubhanAllah, what the moon divides itself between 3 parts here. Why is this ummah, they're not really united? So if they're not united in the moon sighting instead of moon fighting, what are they going to be doing? I mean, Allah al-Musta'an. I remember, it's a joke, but it's a real one. Okay, this is when a revert, he was listening to a talk, and I was there to talk, and this talk of the person was saying about the moon and all of that, and the sighting of the moon. And the Prophet ﷺ, he said about the moon splitting at this time, which is a miracle. Moon splitting. This smart revert, he said, can I just ask a question? You know, we do have texts from the Quran and also the Sunnah that the moon split. Do we have a text that the moon got together or they split? Maybe this will explain that we will have to have different sighting here. That's a clever, smart person. You understand me? We don't have a text that's got the moon come together. So that means maybe because it's two moons now, split, that's why we have sighting here different from other sighting. Everybody laughed. But of course, the miracle is that it's split and united. That's the miracle. The miracle that split and it's united, not actually they are split at the two halves and still two halves. Wallahu a'lam. Asal Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala li wa lakum al-thabat. I've got lots of things to talk about, but I want to leave more time for you to ask me the questions. So you've got another 15 to 10 minutes, inshallah, 15 minutes for your questions. Please, let's focus the question onto Ramadan, onto Sha'baan, onto, if you want, Rajab as well. Okay, so if you want to ask about that, please just go ahead. Jazakumullah. Anybody from here, please come back.
So does the odd night still fall into the same, or how does that work? We want to make sure that we get the odd nights, right?
No. Well, the question is to do with the odd nights. If, for example, one masjid or one sect, they have said that they announced that tomorrow is the first of Ramadan. The other one, they said that no, the day after is the first of Ramadan. Because we want to know that what are the odd numbers for the night of Al-Qadr, which one should we follow? People think that the night of Al-Qadr is in the odd. That's incorrect. Night of Al-Qadr is in all odd and even. Number of reasons. First of all, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, تَحَرَّوْا لَيْلَةَ الْقَدْرِ فِي الْعَشْرِ الْأَوَاخِرِ. That is, seek the night of Al-Qadr in the last 10 nights. Also, he said, seek it in 5 nights remaining, or 3 nights remaining. Now, 5 nights remaining, or 3 nights remaining, yes, they are odd numbers. But when you calculate them from the end, they could be odd, they could be even. Because if Ramadan is to be 30 days, if you said 5 nights remaining, that's what, 25th. If Ramadan was 29 days, it will be what? 24. So 24 becomes 25th. So that is not correct to say that is the odd number, but there are emphasis on the odd from the beginning. But it doesn't mean that the emphasis that is going to be the night of Al-Qadr, where we have seen the night of Al-Qadr actually one day it was 24th. One day, 1 year, it was the 22nd. It was not on the odd from the beginning. So as I said, the Prophet ﷺ, he had said this and cleverly said, because seek it in not last, in the 23rd night. He said, in 9 nights remaining. The meaning of what? It could be 30 days. It could be 29 days. So if you said 9 days, it could be 21st, or it could be what? 22nd, depending upon what? The month of Ramadan, how does it end? So that is, as I said, what makes it for us to strive in all of the nights, 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and the 30th night. All these nights we make qiyam in them, and we seek as well tahari. We make sure that this is the night of Al-Qadr, so the following day after the Fajr we stay up and see the sun if it has been risen. If you can't see the sun, alhamdulillah, but you can see the sun, how has it been risen? Some of us, they don't know how the sun rises at all because it does not wake up at all. I will urge everybody from now is to go and start looking into the sunset and the sunrise and the, if you can, nautical dawn. Wallahi, if you do that, it will make you relax. Just go to Google and search into your Google an area where you find a meadow, lots of meadows where there is darkness. And it's pointing towards the east. That's where the sun rises. Okay, sunrise from the east. And then start calculating the sunrise. I did this, alhamdulillah, a number of times. And I have just noticed that sunrises in the places where Google says, for example, in, let's say, High Wycombe. I went to High Wycombe that day and I recorded it for video. The sunrise was, for example, it says 7 o'clock something, okay? Let's say 7:30. And actually the sun risen about 7:33. And even I was in the highest point in High Wycombe. nothing in front of me. I'm higher than the valley. It's called high Wikim. High, the mountain, Wikim is the valley itself. So the people underneath, they will see the sunrise later on, another 5 minutes. So that's why I saw the sun rising 3 minutes after the sunrise, actual sunrise. And I put it sun, and when it rises quickly. MashaAllah. 2 minutes, it will be all of it, the full disc, all of it altogether, outside, 2.5 minutes. About 10 minutes, it will be like 2 meters height, subhanAllah. 12 minutes. So I would say if you want to pray the 2 rak'ah after the sunrise to make it, which is, they call it the Salat al-Shuruq. There's no such thing as Salat al-Shuruq, but 2 rak'ah is if you pray the Fajr, sit in your place, and then after sunrise, when it's risen a spear length, that is 2 meters. If you do that, then look at the timetable of Google, what is sunrise, add to it the 3 minutes, which is let's say the wrong zone, the mistake zone, and then add to it at least 10 minutes. So you end up 13 minutes. So you want 13 minutes, up, you could make it 15, but 13 minutes, don't pray before that. The sun hasn't risen properly yet. So do that. And also the sunset. Don't depend upon the calendar. The calendar is a huge difference. Wallahi, there's a huge difference in everything they say regarding the dawn, regarding the Isha, it's only the closest to the correct is the sunrise and sunset. Only. As for Dhuhr, it's not correct. As for Asr, it's not correct. As for Maghrib, it's correct. Close to the correct. But in Maghrib, they do extra precautional time. You know that? In Maghrib, during Ramadan, let's say, for example, sun sets at 5:30. Okay? Suddenly, the following day is Ramadan, they're 5:35. About 5 minutes. Why? Precautionary time. Which already, if they had 5:30, okay, they're still well after the sunset, not before. Well after the sun. But they've added another 5. We should not do that. You yourself, go and see. Where you live, go in an area which is, by the way, the difference in height in your town is not going to make a difference. Say, 1,000 meter, which you're not going to get into your town, 1,000 meter amount. You will not add a minute difference. A minute difference for 1,000 meter. Okay? So it's not going to make a difference. The highest mountain in the area. And see, do some homework. Record videos as well, just to see how. So the sunrise, you could see it sun rising. Sunset, you could see it sun setting. The dawn, you need to learn it. The dawn is a red thing that comes up. Red thing. If I've got this in my phone, but I said, I've got it in my phone, but in the phone, you're not going to see all of it. I will show you how the dawn, they call it. Red comes as Al-Ahmar al-Mustatir ala ru'us al-jibal. It will be on top of the mountain. SubhanAllah, you look at it, red zone like this coming. Okay? I have seen this red coming well after the Fajr, which is so called in the masajid. Some of them 15 minutes, some of them 20 minutes, some of them half an hour. Okay? I'm not worried about the fast. I'm worried about what? The prayer. Because they pray straight away, they will pray before the Fajr. The faster will be fasting well before the Fajr. I'm worried about what? So if you are living in a town and you see some masajid and they're giving you Fajr time, go to the one which is giving you the latest time. One says, for example, 5:30. One says, for example, 5:35. And then one says 5:40. Go for the 5:40. Still the 5:40 got precautionary time, mashallah. So even if you go to the last one, the maximum, still you're okay. Well, after I have collected data now for the last 4 or 5 months, alhamdulillah, with another brother here in Luton as well, we've recorded as well things. We could see that the masajid are, Allah musta'an, they just calculate, they don't look with their own eyes. They just based upon 18 degrees. 18 degrees is not correct. And also for the Isha, ya Akhwani, also you need to make sure, especially when we come to the days of the summer, some of the Isha is before the Isha. Some of the people that pray, okay, Isha before Isha. Okay. Some of the people also in the winter, they pray Maghrib well after the Maghrib time. Because the Maghrib time is from sunset until the disappearance of the red twilight. That red twilight. So in the winter it will be short. Some people, they think it is just like the calendar says, but it's actually before that. And also in the summer, some of them, they pray the Isha early because actually the twilight takes a long time. So we find people, for example, praying Isha, remember Ramadan, 10:30, when the Isha starts 10:35, 10:45 or 10 minutes later, because the red twilight is still there. But This is a homework for you, inshallah, to do it. Start from now. You've got plenty of time. I know that the days where it is uncloudy are very limited. And wallahi, almost every night I wake up just to look well before Fajr. Clouds, I don't go outside. If there's no cloud, I just go to the places where I've allocated 3 places for myself to see the sunrise and to see the dawn. Because you need to make sure that your ibadah is correct. You need to make sure that I'm correctly praying properly. So if you want to pray, take precaution for the prayer. Pray about at least 20 minutes after the Fajr, they say 20 minutes. Okay, at least 20 minutes. And if you are 15, 17 minutes, maybe 20 minutes, but I'm just saying the more time. As for the fasting, because you don't know, go with the timing, which is the last time they give you. The last time. One says 5:35, one says 5:40, go to 5:40. Still 5:40, you are safe zone, inshallah. And you could tell outside, they say Fajr, you can't find darkness. No Fajr whatsoever. Really pitch dark. How can it be Fajr? Fajr, ya Ikhwani, is the red, and it will be going into the land, into the roads, ينتشر في الطرقات. Fajr. It's a proper Fajr. It's not the astronomical Fajr. It is the nautical Fajr. Okay, the nautical means you find a break of a light going from north to west to south, from north to south. So you look into the east, you find it horizontal from north to south. That's not the one which is the Zanab al-Sarhan, the tail of the fox coming upward. No, it's like this Fajr, and it will be pushing like that, up, and they will clear, more clear. Now, I've got here some recording. I'll show you, for example, this one. Because of this phone mobile, because I've got hotspot, and it's really hot spot. It's becoming already hot. Allah Mustaan. So if I show you here, okay, this is called time for Fajr. See, all of these data, I collected them. These are videos, the videos for the last month. Okay, these are videos. Each one is a video the last month. So if I go for this one, let's listen to it.
1442.
Okay, so there's the
8th of March 2022.
8th of March.
And I'm pointing to the east. I'm in high.
What? Yeah, last week.
Watching for the Fajr.
Okay, you can see here.
And according to Google, the Fajr will be 5:20. According to our timetable, which is 5:13. According to Maidenhead, which is not far from here, is 5:01.
5:01.
The time?
5:01, the Fajr in Maidenhead, which is just next door to me. Okay, and the time now is what?
Now, at the moment, is 5:19.
5:19. 18 minutes, and still dawn hasn't come yet. Because according to Google, it's 5:20. Hasn't come yet. I'm going to show you the dawn in a minute.
Still, the red twilight did not come up yet, according to what I was citing. The sun.
Can I just go forward because I'm just clipping here? Look, I'm going to show you the dawn now. The dawn will come. Not that here. The one after it. That's the one. The Ikhwani for the dawn. It was really cold, by the way. It was extremely -3. It was that time.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today's out.
See the dome? Can you see it here? Look, that's the dome. Can you see the red? That's the dome. That is the red. It came at 5:22, 2 minutes after Google. 5:22. Google 5:20. Maidenhead 5:01. Just next door. Our masjid, which we do to the sighting, we have made it 5:15. It's about 5 minutes before, because the Luton is different from mine. But I made it 5:15, which is similar. We don't have really different height and altitude in Luton. But that's what I'm just saying to the brothers. If you are in charge of the masjid, make sure you add at least 15 to 20 minutes to Fajr time to do the prayer. Okay? You have to do that. Otherwise, how many minutes you put? 15? At least, yeah. Don't make it 10 minutes. So in case, just to make sure that the people have prayed Fajr, the Fajr before, not before Fajr. In Jordan, which is a Muslim country, where the ministry of endowment, they are placing the timetable. Our Sheikh Al-Albani, He always warns the people because he lives in a high end. He could see sunset and also he could see the nautical dawn. He used to say to us, according to his sighting, nautical dawn comes 18 minutes at least after the time which has been set by the government, by the Ministry of Endowment. 18 minutes. Okay. Alhamdulillah, the Ministry of Endowments imposed upon the masajid not to make the iqamah unless it's 25 at least minutes after the time. 25 minutes. So imagine 25 minutes after the time, we start the prayer and we pray, and our prayer is a bit long in the Fajr. Let's say, for example, Surah Al-Insan and Surah Al-Sajda, and we finish and we come out and it's still dark. Must be that when they put the time before, it can't be Fajr. It cannot be Fajr. Half an hour, 25 we started, and we made the prayer, and we came out, it's still dark. It can't be Fajr done before. No way Fajr is 2 hours or 3 hours. You know that some of the masajid, they've got their Fajr about 3.5 hours. You know that? Their Fajr is 120. You remember? 120. You know, that's 120. Your masjid is not far away. 120 their Fajr. And sunrise was about 5 o'clock. What type of Fajr is this? Do you understand? 120, the miskin hold their fast 120. Well, that's a miskin. It's 2 days, 1 day. This is 120, and then they Allah Akbar. This is almost 24 hours fasting. Wallahi. Because the fast, we used to break our fast, remember? 9:20, 9:30, we break our fast. So their 120 is the imsak, holding for the food. I said, oh, 21 hours, 20 hours holding the food. Miskin, these people. Allah, people. Allah understand. Doing what? For hunger strike or something? Allah understand.
Touching this topic,
yeah.
When you know that you're wrong, you take the matter of people in charge, they just don't listen, and you create a lot of debates and arguments.
Okay, when you take it to the people, the question is, I know what the question is that if you have, yeah. Yeah. Keep quiet. That's the best. One, I am not here starting a revolution. I want to revolt against any leadership of masajid. This is for you. If the masjid doesn't want to implement it, you save yourself. So if the masjid, if you had done yourself sighting and you know that the dawn comes like this, like for example now, I told the masjid of Maidenhead, you need to wait 20 minutes. 20 minutes for iqamah. If they did it before that, if I pray with them, I have to pray what? Again after. I will pray with them, but I'll pray what? Again. Because my prayer is not invalid. According to me, I've seen it. I'm saying invalid. How can I pray with you? So I told them 20 minutes to do the prayer, 20 minutes after the time. But if they did not implement that, I will not make a revolution, and I will revolt against them, and I'm gonna, shoot you or whatever. I just do it myself. Here we implement the verse. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu alaykum anfusakum. Or you believe, that is, keep yourself or fix yourself. La yadurrukum. There's not going to harm you who opposes you. So the people who oppose you, just leave them out. So keep yourself, fix yourself, make sure that yourself is correct. Pray at least 20 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes better after the dawn. I don't know how much is the dawn here, but as for the fasting, make sure as well you don't push it if you don't know. Don't push it. So if your masjid said 1:30, go for 1:30. You don't know. The other masjid 1:35, go with 1:35. Sorry, 5:35. Other masjid goes 6 o'clock, go with 6 o'clock. Because these, as I said, these calculations based upon angles, angles, angle 18 degrees, but the angle differs between summer and winter. It's not doesn't stay the same. It goes down to 12, goes down to 11 and a half. Then it's going to up 18. It differs. And that's the calculation. It's a calculation, subhanAllah, like our Shaykh al-Albani. This calculation is based upon something which is 50 years now it's been 100 years. And still they are upon it. They don't change. 100 years. They don't change. We want to upgrade it. We want a committee of scholars to go out, start citing the Fajr themselves. and record for us. It's easy to do. Wallah, it's easy. Just to sit down and we've got telescopes and microscopes and all these things. MashaAllah, it's very easy to do it. I mean, we could do it now with simple mobile like that. You are able to do it. But unfortunately, they don't do it. There was an attempt in our country. Some scholars, they went, which are doctors and professors from university. And they went to an area where they could see the Fajr. And this area was close to my hometown. It's only about 10 minutes drive from my house. And it's an area with a mountain and nothing underneath. It's all of it dark. And they went there to camp for about a week. And of course, they're in Turin most of the time, the skies are clear during the summer. And they've calculated the Fajr. And they have come up with the same thing as Sheikh Al-Albani said. 17 to 18 minutes after the time which has been set for Fajr, the Fajr starts. The problem is in Ramadan, some of the masajid, they've been forced by the people. We can't wait for 25 minutes. We want to wait for what? 15 minutes. So if they did 15 minutes, Sheikh Al-Albani said, pray with them and go home, pray it again. Pray it again because we're praying it before Fajr. Now, Jama'ah is 5:15 is 100% correct. Now the Fajr comes about something like about, I would say, just about 5 or before 5 a bit. I'll tell you what, I'll tell you, this is in areas which are a bit higher than you. Okay? So if I'm going to just say to you the Fajr now, according to our sighting here, let me just see, please. Allahumma musta'an. Okay. Clear, inshallah. Okay, 1, 2, 3, and that's it. What's the day? What's the day? 13th of? Okay. It's 5:01. Okay, Fajr comes out. Now. Fine. But some of the masajid makes it what? How much did your masjid makes it? Fajr entry. 4 for what? For what? I'm not talking about the Jama'ah, the entry time. The entry time, not the. Today is the 13th. For what? 4:39. See, 4:49. 39. That's about 21 minutes. See, that's the problem. You go for 4:39, you find nothing except for pitch darkness. 5:50. No, it's correct, Jama'ah. It's correct. Even if you go to the Jummah next for Jummah, make it 5 o'clock. It's correct. But the problem is in Ramadan. That's the problem. No, khair inshallah. Fine. Can we just call it for a night, please? I need to go. Subhanakallah.